Lesson 5, one very important secret to helping kids succeed at learning. If you've ever tried to help a struggling learner by using any of the traditional forms of intervention that we discussed in Lesson 1, then you've probably already experienced some tears, maybe some meltdowns, resistance, slamming doors perhaps, shouting, and assuming that you are in fact human, some of that might have been coming from you, not just from the kids. So here's the important secret that I hope you can fully embrace today and celebrate, because it does happen to be really good news, especially if you'd like to make those meltdowns a thing of the past. The process of improving learning abilities does not have to and should not feel like torture, not even the slightest bit. It should not feel like we're running a marathon before we can run around the block. In fact, the more difficult it is on a child, and on the instructor for that matter, the more stress there is. The more stress hormones come into play. And when our brains are flooded with stress hormones, our brains don't perform very well. Learning becomes even more difficult. And the cycle continues. We don't get very far very fast that way. And not just that, nobody is having any fun. I talk a lot about the solution to this in a course that I created called How to Grow a Learner. But I'd also like to share the gist of it with you here too. It's pretty simple really, but somehow it seems to go against everything that we've been taught about success. And here it is. When we provide learning intervention, we embrace the Goldilocks standard. We want to find that happy medium where learning strategies are not too easy, but also not too difficult. We want them to be just right, kind of like little Miss Goldilocks and her porridge. Progress is actually faster that way than if we push beyond a child's capabilities. Sadly, we do that a lot to kids when we ask them to read before they have the underlying learning skills to support reading. Essentially, we're expecting them to run that marathon before they can even walk. Of course, kids are always doing their best to please us, to meet those expectations that we have of them. You can imagine then how exhausting and stressful and dejecting this can feel when we constantly expect them to do more than they're capable of. It's not intentional, of course, at least I hope it's not. But here's what happens when we learn to work within the Goldilocks standard, which, by the way, is going to be different for every learner. We help students not only succeed in the moment and experience what success actually feels like on a regular basis, but we also help them improve their abilities at the same time, which then, of course, leads to even more success. As they stair-step their way to becoming successful, independent, very capable learners, the truth is they don't actually need to be huffing and puffing the entire way up. They can, in fact, enjoy the process every step of the way. Now, at the start of this mini training, I did promise to share where you can find me to learn more. So here we go. Generally, you can find me at innerpiecesgallery.com. Gallery, by the way, simply refers to collections. I have a number of collections of learning tools that you can choose from. For simplicity, I'll be sure to include specific links to those below this video. If you'd like to reach out to me directly, you can find me on Facebook at Unlimited Learner, or send me an email at Cherice, that's CHERICE, at innerpiecesgallery.com. I hope that this training has been useful to you. Thank you so much for taking the time with me today to learn a little bit more, to dig a little bit deeper. You may be at the beginning of this learning intervention journey with your child, or maybe you've tried nearly everything under the sun to help make learning easier. Either way, if you think that you're ready to go even deeper and reach the real root of learning difficulties, be sure to find the link below this video that takes you to more information about online training. The course called How to Grow a Learner teaches you exactly how to tailor fit a learning intervention plan to your child's or student's very unique needs. Now, as I mentioned in Lesson 1, students with learning differences are not destined to a lifetime of struggle. With your help, they can break free and become the confident, independent learners they were always meant to be. And don't worry if you're not ready to dive in just yet. You now know where to find me and where to look for better solutions. Thanks so much for joining me.